What's going on, world? You know who it is. It's Velvet coming to you live and direct with the one and only N.E.F, the
That be me.
co-host with the most. And yo, welcome one and all to the Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast. We got a week to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. You already know it's about to be something serious. But before we get into that, as you know, two special things going on today. First and foremost, it's Juneteenth, and I gotta stand up and flex a little bit. You know, I got the red, black, and green on. We ain't doing those
Nice.
colonialized colors, so we're gonna be about the red, black, and green. You know what I'm saying? That's what Juneteenth is all about. And beyond all that, you know, it's the Juneteenth King over here. You dig? Juneteenth
Nice.
King.
I'm still waiting on mine.
Yeah, no doubt.
It must have
That's
got
how
lost
it
in the
is,
mail.
man.
I don't know.
So we got to talk about the Juneteenth King, and before we get into the festivities about all that. So before happy Juneteenth to everybody. All right, but first, beyond all that, I just want to I want to dedicate this show to several people. First person, or the first two people, are two guys who held together some of the best matches in the history of the sport. We lost two of the best referees in the history of the game this week. Dave Hebner, the twin brother of Earl Hebner, who is most famous for having a role in the infamous Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan world title change in 1988, passed away after battle with Parkinson's disease. Rest in peace to Dave. And today I learned that referee Tim White from WWE passed away. So rest in peace to Tim. You know, both of those guys, amazing. And finally, the dedication that means the most to me, that I want to give it to, is my dad. It's Father's Day, and to be completely honest with you, there would be no Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast, no Velvet Jones, no Love of Wrestling, no wrestling blogs, none of the stuff I've done in wrestling, no wrestling career, without my dad introducing me to wrestling when I was 5 years old. So, Daddy, this is for you, big man. I love you, Dad. Now that we have done that, all right, let's get to the festivities. All right, hold up. Let me see. Mattoon, what's happening, my friend? How you doing? Good to see you. Yes. All right. Now, let's get down to business. All right. First order of business for the week. All right. You know what? This last week started off crazy. Because Monday, we all just chilling. Before I say anything, Neff, I just been talking and rambling. Bro, what's happening? How you doing, man?
You see, I took my shades off. You know what I'm saying? I started to come in with it. I was gonna talk a little mess. You know what I'm saying? But man, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's how we do here. It's all good, man. I've been good, enjoying Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. It's been relaxing, and I think if there's any day that fathers need to just sit down and do nothing, stay still, they say.
Yes.
Today be the day.
That's what I'm talking about. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Agree with you on all fronts there. Now, that being said, let's get down to business, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the craziest past week of wrestling we have seen in a long time. We've seen some crazy ones. You get what I'm saying? So,
sure.
Here's the deal. All right. Monday, just going through the motions and all that kind of stuff, and I look up and I see, Jeff Hardy was arrested for DUI. This is his third DUI arrest. First two were misdemeanors. This one's a felony. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's just going to be the story of the week.
Right.
Until Vince McMahon said, "Hold my beer, my grapefruit juice." And he just decided that
was it grapefruit or prune juice?
Yeah, man. Hold my beer and my grapefruit juice. He decided he was going to turn the whole wrestling world upside down. Okay. So here's what happened. Tuesday, news broke that Vince McMahon was under investigation by the WWE Board of Directors for having in the past given hush money to a former WWE paralegal who he had a
It was unfair. Yeah.
It was an affair. Yeah. And
Alligator.
the popular term is entanglement. You know what I'm saying? But
There ain't no proper term. We not about to do that.
nah, we ain't, man. We ain't. The word I was looking for was consensual. All right. Because when you say
That's
relationship, somebody might be like, was he with it? Was she with it? Were they blah blah? It was consensual. Okay. So they had a consensual affair. All right. Um Later on, we find out that, like, the next day, we find out that Vince's all his affairs have caught up with him, so much so that he and Linda McMahon have actually split. They're still married, but apparently they're living in separate places.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm like, yo, this is crazy. You know, like, can this story actually get any worse? Well, yeah, it did. As we find this out, this investigation has confirmed what a lot of people have speculated in the past, that this is not the only time Vince McMahon has paid a former WWE personnel member or talent money to shut up and not talk about the dealings that they had. So now that this has happened, we find out that Vince wasn't the only one with this paralegal. No. This paralegal was passed off to People Power, John Laurinaitis.
And, laryngitis.
Huh?
It's laryngitis.
Yeah, John Laryngitis. And yeah, he was giving her the people power. So now we find this out. We're like, man, what's really going on? Like, maybe this is a blow over. You know, McMahon and WWE have been investigated in the past and stuff like that, until we got to the end of the week. And we got news that until the investigation is completed, Vince McMahon has voluntarily and temporarily stepped down as the CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, an organization he's owned since, I think, like 1982, when he bought it from his dad. Mm-hmm. Crazy, man. It's crazy. Like, wow, what in the world is going to happen? Like, how serious can this be? N.E.F, talk to me, man.
You know, first of all, the whole thing is disgusting. I've been kind of going back and forth over it all week, and everything is just now starting to make sense. As far as everybody thinking this is a gimmick or work and all that stuff, I'm really sick of that. I mean, we get so, you know, we get like that where we just think everything's just a work, everything is playing out like that because it's scripted and stuff like that. Like, we know how, you know, they've made these storylines so believable over the years, but when something like this happens, you can't turn a blind eye to it. And a lot of times in this situation, that's what happens, that we just think that it's not real. It's real. And did you see his whole, you know, because you know that went on the whole trend of him showing up on SmackDown. He was going to make this big announcement, do, you know, all this. Like, nobody knew what he was going to say or what he was going to do. But there was a moment. There was a moment when he came out. He was in his McMahon mode. You can see him flash them arms. But immediately, when there was such a mixed reaction, and you watched the stride in his walk, yeah, and how that whole thing just kind of got real lax, like, wow, like, I think, you know, this is, you know, bigger than life right now. He said nothing, absolutely nothing. That was just, he said nothing. And John Laryngitis, I mean, we don't hear from him anyway, but it's, you know, like, the whole thing is just, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable, but we got shareholders in this business, and we know what they expect. The numbers have been plummeting. AEW is, you know, not on that level yet, but WWE's number has fallen. The fan attendance has fallen. So shareholders got to do what they got to do. Exactly. Got to step down because of them.
Yeah, exactly. The first thing I'm thinking when I see this, you know, like, this stuff that we're hearing about now being put out front, you know, it's been going on for years, and now we're getting confirmation of it. So my first thing is this. To me, this sounds like an internal audit prior to the sale of a company. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It sounds like WWE is making putting forth all the steps to sell their company in the next 3 to 5 years. And when this happens, the person who's interested in buying the company is going through and saying, you know what, we got to make sure all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, and make sure that there's nothing that's going to make us look stupid when we buy this company. So we have to make sure that that's in place. So I'm thinking that this is all part, as big as this is part of a much bigger thing with the sale of the company eventually. I think that's what's going to happen. Now, as far as what I think is happening, having been in the business and knowing, and I don't want to sound sexist or anything like that, but this is the facts. Having been in the business and knowing that there are people, men and women, who walk around with a carriage and will do anything they can to attach that carriage to the fastest racing horse. I've seen it happen. I've seen all kind of crap happen. Affairs, things that I shouldn't have been privy or had knowledge to. It happens, you know, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's any of my damn business. But I mean, I've just been privy to that situation, to those situations and stuff. So this type of behavior, to me, to be perfectly honest with you, is just it's become acceptable in wrestling because it's common. You know, it happens more often than it should. Whether this has the potential to completely shut down WWE, I do not know.
I find it interesting though, in what you said though about the whole sale of the company. That strong possibility. I mean, it's been there. These numbers have been hidden. You do audits every year. You have to run the books. So that whole internal thing, I can really see that. And I mean, hey, Vince is getting up there, man. And now it just all makes sense on how Stephanie had to step down. She just wanted a little break. She already knew what was coming. Everybody in that backstage knew what was coming. This was, it's news to us, but they've been aware of this for a while. And I think Stephanie stepped away just to kind of get her stuff together, get her affairs together, get Triple H back in the building, and then in come the Swoop.
It's a good thing that you mentioned that, because that was actually going to be my next talking point, that Stephanie McMahon came back from her self-imposed exile to become the WWE's interim CEO. Now, you can take this a lot of different ways. This might be a setup for a permanent CEO position, because like you said, Vince McMahon is getting up in age, and if that does happen, just hypothetically, let's just say that, as far as playing devil's advocate, let's say this gets to the point where Vince McMahon no longer is WWE CEO, or can't come back, or he's been voted out, or whatever the situation may be. He can't be CEO. If Stephanie McMahon does become the WWE permanent chairperson and CEO, what kind of long-term effects? Well, let me ask you this. What immediate action do you think she will take as far as changes go to the product?
I mean, we said this before, just her impact and where her focus was with the women's division. I see definitely she'll have her hands in everything. Creatively, I've trusted Stephanie to make creative decisions. It's not like she's done questionable things, and she's contributed more than, people will give her credit for. So when it comes to just her immediate impact, I think if she just falls in line with what she's been doing, of course, Vince is not going to totally take his hands off. He will find a way to send a text, an email, fax, bird, pigeon, and he'll do anything to get his message to anybody in the building. So it's not like he'll just disappear. But as far as trusting Steph to do it, I don't see much of a change. I see a better product. I see a younger, fresher eyes saying, I'm in position now, and she can do what she's always wanted to do. So, I mean, with the blood, she knows not to put out a bad product. So it'll be interesting. That's definitely an interesting conversation, and we'll see how that play out.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you totally, because Vince McMahon completely changed the business. When he took over WWF back in the days and he bought it from his dad, he completely changed the way business is done in the business. And, even with the advent of AEW, one can only imagine what kind of changes Stephanie could do. Because I mean, it's in her genes.
Yeah.
It's in her genes.
Oh, she'll go to war quick. She's one that'll press the red button right now.
Know. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's just Stephanie. You know, and I've heard people say, well, why would you put in sexist things that people say, why would you put the company in the hands of somebody like Stephanie? She's too emotional. You know, she can't make good decisions because she's too emotional. How do you feel about a statement like that being made about Stephanie McMahon?
Right. Oh, you were asking me how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Father's Day, man. Hold on. Gotta clear that out. Yeah. I mean, it is for Steph, and it's unfair. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people give her enough credit for what she's done. You know what I'm saying? A lot of decisions that was made, even with WrestleMania and stuff, is her that made some changes that made the show better. When Vince wanted it to go one way, she, you know what I'm saying, stepped in and gave her opinion. So, again, I think you got to give everybody a chance. And we've had Vince do this for decades. Like, it's okay. Change is good. And the way that things are going, the attendance, the fanfare, like, it's the storylines, just what's going on in general is, it needs a shot in the arm. No booster intended.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take ourselves. What the heck just happened? I did something and everything just went crazy. Okay, there we go. All right, got some stuff going on with the dashboard. Now everything's cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our first break, but we're going to delve a little more into this entire situation. Yeah, stay tuned, everybody. This is the Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast.
New Generation Pro Wrestling returns to the Anderson Conference Center on Sunday afternoon, July the 10th in Macon, Georgia. It's a night you're not going to want to miss, as NGPW owner Roger Davis has announced two more big matchups. The Exotic Youth take on them West Georgia boys. And in a street fight, the Middle Georgia champion Scroll the Ring goes one-on-one against ECW owner Tyreek. All this and a whole lot more. More matches to be announced. That's Sunday afternoon, July the 10th, Anderson Conference Center. Don't you dare miss it.
This is the Boozerweight, Matt Sexcells, and you're watching the Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast. Thank you, my good friend, Matt Sexcells, the Boozerweight, for giving me that wonderful shout out.
That is the hardest name I've heard in a while.
Oh yeah, trust me, he lives up to it by all means. Trust, you got to meet Matt. Matt is like one of a kind. Really good guy. So, we're gonna segue from that story into the first story I mentioned and I touched on. Jeff Hardy Monday was arrested for his third DUI. His first two were misdemeanors. This one is a felony. Jeff and his brother were slated to take place in what I believe to be a triple threat ladder match on AEW Dynamite last week. The match actually had been canceled thanks to Jeff's arrest. Jeff was held and incarcerated until he posted, I want to say, $6,500 bond. The reasons for this happening is crazy. Everybody has speculated to him doing too much in his matches and it taking a toll on his body and him going back to whatever got him, arrested. Or there have been talks about a Hardy tag team title reign that got canned and he fell into a depression and that's why he went back to doing what he did. As somebody who has who knows about addiction, not personally, but within, family and friends and stuff like that. Some people just really don't ever stop. And I don't think that Jeff Hardy stopped. I would like to see him be in a position where, he could walk away from this business with his head held high instead of being dragged and carried out, because he has an amazing career accomplishment list is crazy. So, N.E.F, Jeff Hardy, third arrest. What do you think about this, man?
It's a sad situation. For me personally, Jeff's been around since what, 99? He came in. And like you said, he's had such an amazing career. And I think a lot of times, we don't look at people, of course, over the past couple of years, we've been putting more focus on mental health and reaching out to people and just, checking in on them. He's battled with it for a long time. And the first time he did, he was like, he rehabbed himself kind of thing. Like, he didn't go get help. Second time he did, they got him to do that. But back to what everyone is saying, as far as just taking a lot of risk, the man is 43. He's 43 years old. Seeing him in ladder matches, table matches, having such a lengthy career doing this thing, 20 plus years, like it's like they treat him as if he's trying to earn a contract. Right. And it's so much wear and tear on the body, as you know, day in, day out. And he's done so much just trying to entertain fans. He never put himself first in anything that he's done in this ring. And I don't think he gets enough credit for everything he's done. I don't think, of course the moments live on, but he sacrifices a lot. So, to still deal with the substance abuse and just kind of falling back into that hole, it's actually probably what numbs him to all the pain that he endures.
Right.
And if people are not checking in on him and just kind of, help guide him in a way, then stuff like that happens. And self-medication just seems to be it for him. It's a sad situation. And it bummed me out about him because, I have so much respect for him. Like, he was always one of my favorites. Hell, I wouldn't have jumped off my backyard garage if it wasn't for Jeff Hardy. If it wasn't for Jeff Hardy, I wouldn't have broke my leg trying to do, swanton bombs off of porches. Like, that's my guy. So to see him go through this, it's hard. It's difficult. And yeah. I hope he bounces back, and I hope AEW gives him the help, because WWE sure did, But I think that medication stuff and what he's doing is just numbing, his inner problems.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the first thing you talked about WWE not giving him help, but as you know, on his WWE exit, there was talk about him taking a test and him passing or failing or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But this is probably something that and people, WWE comes under flack all the time for a lot of stuff they do. But WWE probably recognized this because they've seen his history of doing the things he's done. I've seen some real nasty Jeff Hardy memes. Everybody says he's a Triple Crown champion of getting arrested now, because he's been arrested in WWE, Impact Wrestling, and now in AEW. It's like the craziest.
Nobody will ever get that. He's gonna be the longest running.
Yeah, nobody ever get that, for real. You're right about that. But I mean, just in talking about addiction in itself and how he's addicted and how his problems keep on popping up and everything, do you think that his arrest now has pretty much dampened any idea that he may have had speaking badly about WWE when he was on his way out there? Do you think it kind of legitimizes WWE's concern?
No, because he came over to AEW and was doing fine. He was on track. He was, doing what he loves to do, and he was still entertaining. He still was showing up to events. Before it was like he would stop showing up to events. He would be like, not showing up to autograph signing, stuff like that. So I think AEW, he was doing fine. But it was that one match that we talked about, I think maybe our first show, it was that one match between Darby Allin where I said that could be a problem. Like, he could be hurt. And I was like, if that's the case, then he goes back into that rabbit hole of addiction and drinking and all that stuff, because he's rehabbing, and that's his way of numbing himself. So I just think, again, it's unfortunate, and I hope he gets the help.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mattoon has stated that Vince had literally tried to help Jeff even when he was in TNA. And WWE does have a history of doing that for former talents.
Right.
I think they just recently did that for John Moxley.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, like nowadays because we just came off of a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, hearing about Tammy Sitch, Sonny. And when I hear about people in the business that have a history of alcohol, you know, it's something that I really jump to hearing about, because first and foremost, for those who don't know, I was trained by Bill DeMott, who wrestled as Hugh Morris in WCW and wrestled under Hugh Morris, and his real name in WWE was also a former WWE head trainer. Now, a couple years ago, Bill's daughter, Carrie Ann, was killed in a head-on collision with a drunk driver, a repeat DUI offender. So every time something like this happens, you know, Bill is always like the first one to jump on the scene and kind of say, you know, his piece about the whole situation, and it's totally understandable. And so even here, in talking to Bill, I talked to him on Twitter, and he was just saying he hopes Jeff gets the help that he needs so that he can walk away from the business, you know, in one piece and be remembered as the Jeff Hardy that we all have all come to know and love and everything. So with all that being said, N.E.F, I got to ask you, let's say Jeff Hardy does get the help he needs, because in order for him to come back to AEW released a statement saying that he has to actually go through rehab and exhibit sobriety. So once he comes back, what do you think is left for the rest of Jeff Hardy's career?
I think it will, for me, honestly, if he just gave one more match, I will be good with that. It's nothing else he needs to prove to anyone. It's his style of wrestling. He's never changed it. He may have added something here and there, but his set list is Jeff's set list. I mean, you can go back on any video game from WWE 2K, whatever, and see that his moveset, it's been the same. He's not changed much about it. And for anybody that signs him or put him in, they know what he's capable of, and they will make him live up to that. And he's always satisfied whatever people wanted from him. He never said, I don't want to jump off that ladder. I don't want to fall through a table. I don't want to fall down a flight of steps in the middle of the crowd. I don't want to do those things. So if you don't say you don't want to do it, they're going to expect you to do it. So for me, he needs to get the help. And then they need to put him in the Hall of Fame and let him ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But that was something else that came up. They offered him a Hall of Fame spot, and he turned it down.
Because he doesn't feel deserving of it. And that's a sad thing. That's another sad situation. If you don't feel deserving of it, like, I don't think he's taking that time to really sit back and really admire or see his accomplishments and the things that he's done and what he's contributed to each sport entertainment he's been a part of, from TNA to WWE to AEW. I don't think he's in that moment of realizing the impact he's had and the moments he's created. It's till you're done, until you step back, that I think he'll see it and then feel that he deserves it. So to turn it down only means he feels like he doesn't deserve it, because he's had a Hall of Fame career.
After an answer like that, I can only do one thing.
Give me that. Hell yeah. Give me that. Hell yeah.
I'm just saying, man.
You know,
I'm just saying.
You're Father's Day, boy. Now, go on, go.
I'm just saying. You can't beat an answer like that. Hey, y'all, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with some more of the Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you guys stick and stay with us, all right? Stick and stay, don't go away. Log on to StallionSquad.com today and use discount code VELVET10 to get yourself some great savings on premium fitness gear, no matter what your fitness level may be. Stallion Squad, squad up.
When you see your wife How does she make you feel?
She's peaceful. Maybe a trip to paradise.
If you have not seen Paradise on Amazon Prime or Tubi or the Maverick Movies Network, please be sure to do so. N.E.F is proudly repping the 480 brand. Yes, indeed. 480 Entertainment, 480 Movies, 480 Music.
Illicit is coming soon.
What's that?
Illicit. It's coming soon.
That's what's up. Illicit. That's right. Illicit. Yeah. Definitely got to. And when we get that Illicit trailer, I'm dropping that too. Y'all gonna get to see that most definitely. No doubt about that. Now, just before we left, I got a chance to see this comment by Mattoon, and he says he does not think Jeff is going to wrestle any longer because he got maybe 4 years left before his body starts breaking down. And that brings me to my next talking point. Speaking of people whose bodies are breaking down, I gotta talk about this guy right here, and that is Randy Orton. Excuse me. Now, according to reports, we know that Randy Orton had a back injury or has a back injury, so we didn't really know the timetable for his return. From what we hear, the timetable for his return may be in 2023 because the back injury that he suffered is feared to be much worse than anybody thought. Randy Orton is the guy who, if I had a choice, would be the guy to break Ric Flair's world title reign record, because right now he stands the best chance of doing it. Huh?
Really?
Yeah, man.
I wanted that for him over definitely over John Cena, but that's a last week's rant.
Yeah, I got that. I would love for it to be Randy Orton. If Cena actually does it, it is what it is. But I am a bigger Randy Orton fan than I ever have been a John Cena fan. So I really want Randy Orton to be the one to break that record. Now, having said that, N.E.F, do you think he can actually do it?
We'll have to see. I mean, it's a lot of domino pieces that got to fall in place for that to make sense. But when you're talking 9 months out, 9 to a year, it's going to depend on his recovery, man. When you get up there in age, you don't recover with some Bengay and Epsom salt like you used to. You know what I'm saying? Like it's and ice baths and all that. Like that recovery is much tougher. But I think Randy, he definitely has the mindset to get himself back right. And I know he wouldn't want to go out like that. Like that's the last thing he would want to do, is to go out like that. So yeah, but it's gonna be a minute. We'll see where everything is then.
Absolutely. I personally think he can do it. And the reason I say that is because I remember some of Ric Flair's final world title reigns. The last couple he had, I think Kevin Nash gave him a title. Like one of his last title reigns, Kevin Nash was just like here. Right. Gave him the big gold belt, and he was the champion again. Yep. So I think Randy Orton is going to actually win his titles in the ring. I do think that, and I think that Randy Orton, even with a bad back, is in much better shape now than Ric Flair was on the tail end of his career.
Yeah, for sure. So Flair was never in shape.
Actually, I will say this: he was
never
in the very early part of his career, during the earliest part of his. I had a friend of mine who showed me like some tapes of Ric Flair in his youth, and I got to see him. And like the dude had abs, not like super abs, but he had like some abs, some actual abs, and was built up pretty good. Nothing to write home about, but it was what it was, right? So as far as Ric Flair goes, yeah, he's been in shape. It hadn't been long, you know what I'm saying? It hadn't been long at all, but you know, he was in shape. So that's just what he did and how he did it. So with the whole Ric Flair thing, I think he'll do okay, man. I think Randy Orton can put up a much better match now than Ric Flair can. I think his last title reign with Drew McIntyre, I think that was just kind of something that was given to Drew to help him have more of a legitimate reign. You know, I think dropping the belt and then winning it back from Randy, that kind of strengthened his reign in the Thunderdome era. I don't know how much good it did for him, but it was something, you know. Oh man, I see we got ourselves a visitor. Yes, I got my buddy on here. I had to bring him on to the show. Let me add Mattoon back in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very good friend of mine. He is a constant contributor to the program, always giving his comments, his recollections on the week in wrestling. He and I talk on Facebook all the time, social media. Mattoon, please introduce yourself to these wonderful, wonderful people.
No problem. I'm Mitchell Patel. I live in Swanee, Georgia. Big wrestling fan. I'm a fan of a few independent wrestlers that Anthony knows. And I'm just a typical guy who loves sports and wrestling. So,
right. Nothing wrong with that.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Now, as we talk about professional wrestling, we're gonna I'm gonna give N.E.F the opportunity to shoot on something that he wanted to talk about, and that is something that happened immediately after the SmackDown main event this past Friday. Now, as we know, Roman Reigns defeated Matt Riddle to retain the Undisputed Universal Championship. Now, yes, he is the one. Now, in order to retain the championship. Now, if that happened, Roman got on his whole acknowledge me thing and talking about saying whatever he was saying. And so suddenly, Roman does that whole thing, and out of nowhere, we see the return of the Beast incarnate, former WWE World and Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. Yes, that's right. And so he walks up, offers Roman a handshake, and gives him an F5. So, N.E.F, you wanted to talk at length about this return. Brother, the floor is yours. Have at it, my friend.
Once again.
The shades are on, y'all.
Once again, we have to live this Brock and Roman situation. What I love though, and this is why Roman's the man, and I've been on record saying that he's probably one of the best heels I've seen in the past. I'm not gonna put some years on it, but his opening piece, that there's no one left. There's no one left. Classic. Love that, Roman. Keep that energy. But this whole Brock situation is driving me mad because there really is no one left. And we've been saying this for weeks. There's no one that would even make sense to beat Roman at this point. For Roman to lose, just like if he would have lost to that was not going to happen. It's no one that will make sense but Brock Lesnar. Now, we know that this is going to get dragged out to SummerSlam. And potentially, we'll talk Money in the Bank predictions, but there's been a whole lot of rumors that maybe Seth is going to do this whole thing all over again, and we're just going to do this whole dance of Money in the Bank and Seth Rollins and whatever the case may be, and then, create a feud, Cody Rhodes come back, whatever. But the Brock and Roman thing must stop. It's been weakness on two parts. You've had Roman very weak in the beginning versus Brock. Like Brock was just bigger than life figure. And now we have to relive this all over again. They're running out of options. It is what it is at this point. I'm glad to see some kind of competition back for Roman. Would be an interesting match.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, here we go. Maddening. That's all I got. Maddening.
Oh my goodness. Minton, what you got for me, brother, about this situation?
I mean, I'm not a fan of this rerun myself either. But I'm going to say this. Neither of them are going to walk out as champion after SummerSlam. My bold prediction. I can give you my bold prediction what I think might happen. That will make sense in the world of WWE.
Please.
So I'm thinking, assuming Widow's not in the Money in the Bank, and it depends on the whole Rock situation, which I hope to God he doesn't wrestle again. As much as I'm the Rock fan, I just don't want to see that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I see Seth winning the Money in the Bank again. Cash it in like he did at WrestleMania 31, make it a triple threat match. When he would get the WWE title from Roman, then you get Cody to come back at the Rumble as a surprise entrance, win the Rumble. Cody win off Seth at Mania.
Bold prediction.
That is a bold prediction, but honestly, it's one that makes the most sense. Because once again, we are talking about WWE, who has, it's not that they have a depleted roster. They just don't have anybody who has the star power to make me say, you know what, I want to watch them wrestle in the main event. Except for everybody that we just mentioned. And to be honest with you, I like the fanfare with Cody. It's cool, but he's still growing on me as somebody who is main event worthy. Like,
Yeah.
I give him all the credit in the world. He was in AEW, big fish in a small pond because of what he done in WWE. He didn't do a lot in WWE. He had some Intercontinental title reigns, tag team title reign, and all those kind of things. He didn't really reach the heights of success that like a John Moxley or CM Punk or Chris Jericho or Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson had ever reached in WWE. But it's kind of like he felt like maybe he was being denied. He went to an organization that gave him an opportunity to do great things. And while he was there, he learned and he imparted a lot of that wisdom on AEW. So Cody's still growing on me. Yeah. And now I'm trying to figure out who is left. And with everything that has just been mentioned, that whole synopsis makes perfect sense.
But here's where we got to keep it. What we got to keep in mind.
There's only one person that really puts in NXT, and that's really Braun Breaker. But is he really the answer for that? I don't think so.
Okay, we'll touch on that a little later. What you got to say?
I need to go because I've got a couple of things to do. So.
Oh yeah.
Now I was saying one piece that we have to keep in mind with the whole thing is that Stephanie will go against the grain. So what we think will happen, what everyone will predict, the thing about Stephanie is that she will go against those predictions, where Vince will play into them. Vince will make the call to say, I know they know, let's go anyway. Where Stephanie is like, no, let's shock some, you know what I'm saying? Like, so her approach will be totally different. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction they want to go in. But I wouldn't put anything past Steph making some big moves and some loud noise. And it needs it. Like I said, it needs that shot in the arm. No booster intended. It needs that. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. But all the rumors and all the predictions and stuff has been pretty much on the same energy.
Yeah, I got you on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back with some more of the Planet Velvet Pro Wrestling Podcast. Stay tuned.
I mean, this is not the MySpace age, Dad. We need to use social media to our advantage.
She's still missing.
Well, then you should know I'm gonna stop at absolutely nothing until I find mine.
Oh, should I wait with you? You know, it gets pretty dangerous out here this time of night.
Why can't her mother watch her? Hell, why can't she watch herself? She's a teenager.
Good choice of words.
Excuse me? You're right. Who wants the case of the bitch?
Excuse me?
Hey, baby.
I found his address.
So you all been thinking about this for a while, huh?
You gonna act like you don't hear me? Oh, I got something for that. Freeze!
You are my life.
Yeah, well, you have a funny way of showing it.
Hey, Captain!
Charles Reedon, computer specialist. Think you guys have him labeled as the Grant Park killer.
The war is just beginning. And the bad part about it, they won't even see it coming. What's your fixation?
N.E.F has had his opportunity to shoot. Now it's my turn. So I'm going to shoot on the clusterfuck that is All Out of Order Wrestling. That's right. All Out of Order Wrestling. And the reason I say it's All Out of Order Wrestling is very simple. The biggest story coming out of that organization this week happens to be Jeff Hardy getting a DUI arrest. They have a roster that is humongous and is growing by the day. They got about 50 to 11 damn shows on social media and television. And the biggest story is Jeff Hardy getting a DUI. You know why? Because nothing in AEW makes any damn sense right about now. There's too much going on. You got a vacant world championship. You got a tournament going on for a championship that's got a name that's long as the name sounds like a damn burger. All right. I'm just saying. Come to McDonald's and get your all Atlantic burger, fresh with fries. That's what it sounds like, honestly. And so now you got all this stuff going on. You got, I don't know who's on Dark. I don't know what the purpose of Dark is, what the purpose of Dark Evolution is. Everybody's got a job. Everybody's doing something. It just seems like busy work. The championships don't mean nothing. Like the championships don't mean squat. Seriously. I saw that there was a world tag team title change with the Young Bucks, regaining the titles and Christian turning on Jungle Boy and getting cursed out by Jungle Boy's mama and sister, and his sister looks just like Dylan from 90210. I know that's her dad, but darn, I'm saying his sister looks like she's working with the same thing below the navel he is. I'm serious. Now let's just be real about the situation. Now we're gonna talk about things. We just gonna talk about it. There's too much going on in AEW right now. Everybody's being added. Malcolm Bivens has come back. Athena is there. Jade Cargill's champion. She's got a story that everybody's just trying to figure out, what's going to be cool about it. Is she ever going to find anybody who's going to present a serious challenge to her because she's such a unique athlete? We got the face-to-face with Jon Moxley and Tanahashi. I'm a big Tanahashi fan, and Moxley to me is, but for the most part, that didn't excite me. There's so much going on in AEW, and nothing is interesting enough to hold my attention besides the stuff that happened 2 weeks ago with MJF. It's ridiculous. Like, there's too much going on. So now I'm trying to figure out how in the world are they going to rectify this, because right now it just seems like a whole lot of busy work. It does. I watched AEW and got absolutely nothing from it. Nothing of value. Nothing to come to the show and talk about. I would love to sit up here and talk about AEW and talk about something other than WWE. And even though there's a big, huge, impactful story like Vince McMahon taking a fall and all that other kind of stuff dominating the headlines, AEW should have given me something this week with all that TV they got going on to talk about. But all they've given me is a former WWE star, like MJF mentioned multiple times, who's gotten in trouble. Only thing they've shown me this week is that alcohol and bad decisions in wrestling has been a marriage that just cannot be broken up. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I need something more from your AEW. And I ain't talking about more shows. I'm not talking about more talent. I'm not talking about more former WWE stars being shoved down my throat. I need something of substance to talk about here, except for Jeff Hardy getting in trouble again. What's up, N.E.F? Give me something.
They only got 2 writers on staff, man. It's only so much you can do. 2 writers versus 300 superstars. I got nothing for AEW. There's more stars coming. There's more shows. There'll be more pay-per-views. Clustered. Just a lot of nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So
entertaining. It's entertaining. All entertainment wrestling.
All friends wrestling. All entertainment wrestling. All out of whack wrestling. Oh, hell. I'm just saying. It's ridiculous. So now that we're talking about stars coming and going, the impending rumor is that Sasha Banks will be released from WWE. Whether that's true or not, a lot of people think if she does get released, she's going to AEW. N.E.F. Sasha Banks goes to AEW. Her run is going to be very predictable. She'll show her face. There'll be a big pop. There'll be a sweet moment. There'll be a couple of nice in-ring promos. Her schedule will get drawn back a whole lot. They'll pay her a whole lot of money, and eventually she's going to become Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Like, seriously.
Look, with Sasha, I mean, who knows at this point? I mean, of course, everybody's speculating that she's going to go to AEW. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing her in AEW. I think that she's a draw no matter where she goes. Of course, they'll play the whole babyface thing, and then she'll turn heel. I love her as a heel, so I don't see, I don't see the whole, babyface situation going on. But here's the thing. If they have released her, if these rumors are true, which we don't know, she hasn't spoken out about pretty much anything, as well as, WWE. I think these are just all outsources, you know what I'm saying? I went to my source, Mr. Jack, Mr. Daniels.
Right.
I went to my source and I said, if it's true, she's still going to have to abide by the 90-day, the 90-day compete clause in her contract, which means that she cannot perform for 90 days, which will put her in line for All Out in September or Full Gear in November, if they're looking at that, which would be, a good rollout for her. But, it's all rumors at this point. We don't know. We also know that, the belts were dropped off to John Laryngitis. So with the whole situation going on with that, Stephanie could step in and maybe change that whole thing. Sasha's very important to the WWE, more than they're giving her credit for. I mean, look at the women's department. Look at them now. Like it's you know what I'm saying? Like it's not up to par. Sasha brings some fire to it, and we haven't even spoke about Naomi, but it's also because Naomi has not previously had any incidents with WWE for them to ship her off or to cancel her contract. You know what I'm saying? Like they both walked out. It was not just Sasha. So to hear that it's just Sasha that was being released, it was like, okay, they're just probably going to say that Naomi was influenced or something, or, like she didn't have a mind of her own to make her own decision to walk out as well. So I find it interesting that they're only talking about Sasha Banks being released and not Naomi. But again, with everything that's going on backstage, Stephanie can step in. She's had a better relationship with the women's wrestlers, and we'll see if she wants to pull them back in. I mean, it would make sense to me. I don't see her in AEW. There's no room for her. There's no room for anybody. There's not even room for referees. So, like, it's no room.
Totally agree. There's no room for anybody there. Here's something I was wondering. If by chance it's not Charlotte who does it, who do you think is going to dethrone Ronda Rousey as SmackDown Women's Champion?
They're angling for Asuka. They want Asuka to take things back over. It's weird, but they want Asuka. Becky Lynch, I think her heel run or just her whole thing right now is just it's getting to the annoying point. You know what I'm saying? It's getting back to that you just crying all the time and all that stuff. Like I liked when she was just tough and really just didn't say much of anything. But now it's every week it's like you're crying. So, you know, I feel them trying to go more Oscar. And, you know, we all know how her promos go, but she's very entertaining. Like she's brilliant in the ring. So it's, you know, it's one of those things where they're out of options again.
We talk so much about change. We talk about the changes that have happened over the week and the changes that could come from those changes. If there's any one change I would like to see, I would love to see, and I hate to say it, but it's true. I would like to see NXT go back to black and gold and have that same black and gold energy that they used to have. Because this whole kaleidoscope thing they got going on down there now, I'm all for the new talent and everything, but there was something so cutting edge about that black and gold and that energy. And if they can get that back, if they can put a little bit of that, if they can recapture that in some kind of way, man, it's crazy. But it's something that definitely needs to happen.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. You got to think of everybody that came out of that. Just the attitude they carried. It feels real popish right now. It's real pop star like.
Yeah, I got you, man. Totally agree with you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Father's Day. This is Juneteenth, and we're going to let you cut loose and enjoy your people as you should.
As you should.
Always. N.E.F, please let these wonderful, beautiful, talented people know where they can find you on social media and direct them to your music on Spotify and SoundCloud, sir.
Oh, for sure. Well, before I do that, again, happy Father's Day, happy Juneteenth to everyone. Be safe out here. If we, you know, this show has been great. You know, we've had some laughs and all that, but you know, a lot of situations that we talked about today are very important, and I really want people to really, really, you know, of course, find some help for your mental health. And also, you know, as we're celebrating and doing these things and had a, you know, weekend that we've had, get yourself an Uber or a Lyft. Please don't get behind the wheel. It's never a joking matter. It's very serious. People lose their lives. You know, if it doesn't affect you, then people don't care. But it happens every day. It happens more than it should. We live in a world where we have Uber, we have Lyft, we have people that will literally pick you up wherever you are and take you home and get you home safely. So, you know, please take care of yourselves. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook, Jesse. I am N.E.F Miller. You can find me on Instagram, N.E.F or 480MG, 480MG, N.E.F. You can find my album, Love and Clarity, Attic, Part 1 on Spotify. N.E.F, Love and Clarity, Attic. And yeah, all that good stuff, man. That's where you can find me. Anywhere you see 480, find me.
That's what's up. And you already know where you can find me. Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Velvet478 is right there. Right there. There it is. You see it? Right there.
See, I need some controls like that too. I need a green screen. I need all that. I need to be able to, you know, put stuff up.
Yeah, man.
There
it is right there. It's right there. Velvet478. You can find me online. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. We will see you guys soon. As always, I am Anthony Velvet Hall.
I am N.E.F. N.E.F.
That's right. Catch you guys on the flip side, all right? Peace. Take care of yourselves and one another, all right?